All right, and we are live. Welcome to the weekly BrainDrive development call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where we update on our progress from last week on the development progress and plan out the next week's work. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the technical side of the aspect here.
BrainDrive's mission is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. And we're doing that with the foundation of a user-owned AI system we call BrainDrive that you see on your screen here now. Everything you see here is running locally on my computer. You download, run it. I don't even need an internet connection to run it, although I won't turn my internet connection off now to show you that because that would end the live stream. But as you can see here, we have as our default interface a ChatGPT style interface where you can run both local models, which are downloaded on the computer, and also API-based models via OpenRouter and other plugins in the future, should you so wish. We have a persona system where you can build custom personalities and system prompts, etc. So similar to the chat GPTs of the world, but with a huge difference, which is you own and control this. We also have a modular plugin based architecture where you can build and deploy plugins and install plugins from any publicly available GitHub, whether you want to contribute those to the community or whether you want to build them for your own system and keep those private. You can do that here. It's under your complete ownership and control. No big tech app store or lock in. You own and control it. And that allows you to build multiple custom interfaces. We showed you the chat interface here, but we also have a Y-Finder plugin, we call it, which walks you through a series of questions to help you find your true purpose as an example plugin and also a useful plugin for the BrainDrive community. But it doesn't, so you can build these custom chat experiences, but it doesn't stop there. You can even build games. This is Dave's uh, built basically the Infinite Craft game on this. I probably should have tested this before. Nope, there we go. Already discovered. So there it is. So really, with Chat GPTs of the world, you're limited to their interfaces. Here at BrainDrive, we like to say the only limit is your imagination. And we have a publicly available roadmap on our docs.braindrive.ai site where we have laid out how we plan to execute building this superior user-owned AI system to these big tech platforms. It's a five-phase roadmap. You can take a look at that there and learn how to get involved. And then we have our community over at community.braindrive.ai, where we also publish these recordings and have discussions around all the development aspects of BrainDrive. So we're building in public, and we'd love it if you get involved in the live streams here every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern or over on the community at community.braindrive.ai. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dave to update us on the development progress from last week.
Okay, first let's lead off with probably from BrainDrive's infancy, we're at our first anniversary. I thought that was kind of funny when it struck me ahead. I checked our emails like a year ago. This time it was like I was playing around. We were taking a break from something else for the holidays, and it was like, Dave, I have an idea. Take a look at this. And from there, BrainDrive kind of grew. And when I looked at where we started at from that point to where we are now, that is a lot of ground traveled. So I'm pretty happy, and especially with what I was working on this week, it really kind of how far we have traveled came home because it was like for the first time for me, which I'll zoom to, I was able to utilize the installer for exactly one of the things of why I thought it was important was it would allow me to test faster. And using it, I was able to, and does it work? Yes. But there was a few buts in everything I was working on this week. It was like I found some issues, so I made a list of them so I can get them cleaned up this week. But overall, the installer did everything I wanted possible. Within 5 minutes, I had it up and running. I did not have to be smart or technical at it. I just pressed buttons, went to get coffee or whatever, came back, it was done, and up and running. So I was very happy and pleased about that. There were a few two actually there's two or three issues with the installer on Windows. I'm going to clean them up this week so they won't be there. But it was like it was fun to go through and use the tools as is, as we intended, and we want other people to use them, because it allowed me to see the app in a much different light than me coding all the time, memory muscle. Um, which brings me to another thing. Last week, I had an idea I wanted to play around with, and I jumped to OpenAI like I normally do, to reverse engineer something that I seen somebody else do. And the first thing OpenAI did was tell me, nope, can't touch it. That's unethical. And so I did a few of the little workarounds trying to get it, but OpenAI's credit, they got it locked down pretty good with the gatekeeper, wouldn't be allowed it. So I was like, let me try BrainDrive. So I have Open Router. I have 20 bucks in my account, so I can play with any free model there. Use Distral's model, which is the Mistral's dev version, because I wanted to create a Python script. First of all, off the bat, created a script for me that I could use, did not need any second prompt or anything. So I was very happy about that, which exposed some other things. The one, like I already made a list of all these things, but one, I have to create a secure environment, probably using Caddy so we can use cut and paste like adults, which basically it works by the button. If you're not using a secure HTTP, you will not be able to use cut and paste in a browser, and that's just browser security. Has nothing to do with BrainDrive, but BrainDrive can do a little bit extra to make that possible. Also auto continue. So when the response gets larger than what you have set to take, if it knows it has more of a response to give you, it can automatically continue with that. So you get the complete response that it meant to give you in one shot versus having to either type continue or any button. Like some adult things that we need to do as software providers, we'll call it. And like I said, it all comes down to for the first time I was using BrainDrive as a user would. And every little hiccup I encountered, I made a note of just and kept going just because I was like wanting to get to the end. But it was like everything we could do to make it seamless. Because at the end of the day, I wanted to create something that big tech told me I couldn't. I was able to do it, and it worked on my first shot. It's like so all we have to do is clean up those little speed bumps along the way, and it's going to start to really grow on what can be done with this tool.
Yep. And big tech wants to tell you what you can and can't do.
Yep.
We believe when you're running your own system on your own computer, it's really your freedom. And really, you should just have to abide by the laws of wherever it is that you live. And
Yeah.
it's not our job to tell you what is good or not in your own life. You should be free to execute as you please within the bounds of the law.
Yeah, okay, that wasn't really trying. It's just reverse engineering. Any developer does it. Heck, I went to college for it, so it's not like really that illegal. I just hey, I seen somebody did, and I was like, I want to do that too. So let's have a conversation. Let's figure out what we can do, and then make it better.
Right.
That kind of thing. Because it was like Dave does the same thing with business and marketing. You're always reading what other people are doing, so you can bring it into BrainDrive. Coding's no different. So it was like I was really a little perturbed that OpenAI wouldn't let me do it. And then I realized BrainDrive, hey, little touches and we'll be, the sky will start to become the limit on really what can be done. And we should be the first users, so it's like time for us to, practice what you preach type thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, now to the installer. Like it worked perfectly, like I said, on the Windows environment. That was one of the things that I wanted to test in last week was use the installer. Let's see if there's any glitches in it. I had been away from it long enough for I didn't have any muscle memory and I had to go through everything by hand. I had two issues on the installer. Just one, Katie would never hit it because of the fact that whatever I put in here, it ignored me and it simply put in what it had for the default. So I have to clean that up. And then when it tries to build the environment back up, it copies a little bit too much data into it. So I need to clean that up as well. Other than that, everything worked seamlessly and flawlessly. To the RAG issues, because that's what started this whole conversation. It worked, but there you go. But one, on Windows, it took a little longer to install than I liked. On the Ubuntu side, it was able to install, I believe it was it was like 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. It was done. On Windows, it took 8 minutes for the first service, and then the 6 minutes for the second service. So I want to determine, is that a Windows thing? Because the libraries move a little slower, or they're just larger? Is there something we can do to clean that up a little bit, or is just because the fact that my Windows environment is very different than my Linux environment? Even the different hardware is available, which can cause that speed as well. So I have to determine that if that was the issue. And if there is, there's just a matter, it comes down to your hardware. Um, Second thing is it didn't like when I gave it a PDF, it exploded on my face for some reason. It seems that a Hugging Face library was not present in this case. And like I said, I don't know if that's the Windows environment because we did the PDF last week on Ubuntu, it worked perfectly. So I have to clean that up. And the restart, when you stop it and go to restart, it blew up in my face for that. That's just a scripting issue, but do need to nail it down and figure out. All that being said, though, the logs provided all the information I need to figure out what was exactly wrong. I just need to go in and fix it. So that is for going forward. The real key will be how do I get, we're talking about error handling and logs. If the user wants to send us information because, like, say, the RAG setup blew up for some strange reason, how do we get it so the user can easily say, "Hey, I just want to give you the RAG logs," and such like that. So a little forward thinking in that regard. But other than that, the RAG, I did put in the markdown. When I did the markdown uh, on Ubuntu, it took it 15 seconds or 20 seconds to digest and chunk the information. On Windows, that took over a minute to do. So, like I said, there is some speed issues, and it could be just simply hardware. At the end of the day, I want to play a little bit more on where it was accessing the models. I do have the infancy of model downloading taking place. When they install now, it grabs the embedding model for you. You do not have to worry about that one. It'll grab the default one. And on Windows, I believe I need to check, but it's also making sure you have that one as well. And I want to take that a little step further so that every default model that this has is automatically going to be downloaded for you so that a non-tech user doesn't have to worry about thinking, do I have the right models? Because that's not a normal question for them.
Right.
Instead, it will install the default models, will select lean ones so that they'll work on almost every hardware. And then you can immediately go from install to process a document and then ask a question without ever having to drop to a terminal, which is one of
Right.
our requirements, and without ever asking a technical question. So it should handle everything for you as much as humanly possible. And we're right about there. I think by New Year's we'll be there on that one. It just needs a few more days to get the and buts cleaned up. But I was very happy about that. So we just
Cool.
don't have that. I just don't want to because the fact that it would take almost it takes 5 minutes to no 7 minutes to install on Windows, depending on whether I'm using Hank or Jimmy on the base PCs, and then it takes, like I said, 8 minutes and then 6 minutes. Before you know it, you're at a 30-minute. We'll do the whole demo of just watching everybody sit there. Okay, is this really good? I was like, if you were doing this a video for YouTube, you'd be definitely doing. Okay, we just skipped past that 6 minutes. But
Yeah.
it's pretty boring. So I'm not going to put anybody through that. This interface that everybody's seeing right here on localhost is the one that's running straight off on Windows, which did put that little glaring little hole there. I don't know why yet. I was just noticing, and it was like yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna worry about that problem later.
Yeah.
But for today, um, doing this allowed me to test. You can download now multiple models at a time. The background task manager does. I was able to test that fully. If I put in 3 models to start downloading, it queues them. You can just one after another, it'll start downloading it like it should. And so as overall, if I look at a year what we were accomplished, it was phenomenal. And when I look at the fact of how fast we can clean up the and buts, it's like this is very usable very quickly for whatever we want to accomplish. It's just, and like you showed, my screen doesn't have it. It's like you want to do a game, great. You want to do your own Y-Finder, great. You have an idea for something nobody else has, great. There's nothing stopping you. Um,
Right.
and and I especially like looking at what Mistral dev version of model, which you can run locally. I just wasn't at the time. what you can accomplish with that, we get a little closer to that idea that Dave and I have had since probably May of the ability for a user to put in a prompt and says, "Hey, I want you to create a plugin for me." And for it to do all the work, nobody else has to do anything and build it right on the premises and then use it. And
Right.
that is like the holy grail for me. If we can get to that, which we can, it's just a matter of the steps. And I'm not going to say, oh, by any type of date, but it's like you can see the models are getting there. The ability to guide them and really double check stuff is there because I do it with with even any model that we use here, have scripts run where you use the model, it generates whatever code you want it to do, and then check it. Run test patterns and make sure that, like I do with installers, if I'm building an installer, of it installs it, it finds an issue, it puts another task in to actually take that issue, find out what's really wrong with it, make code changes, rebuild, reinstall the
Right.
whole process. So I can go do something else, be it make coffee or or code something else on Hank while it's running. Because the one time when I came up with the idea of doing that, it was like it took us 62 times to get it right. But that was either me doing it every 15 minutes because that's what humans were slow, or you let Jimmy do it, and Jimmy just he's a machine. He treats it like a machine. So we're really getting there where these little pieces are coming into play. We're seeing the infancy of agents and us applying it to BrainDrive and bringing that forward.
Great. Awesome. Anything else you want to go over for this week?
This week is going to be really cleaning up those butts. I see no reason why every butt that I have, I think I have a total of probably seven total, of cleaning up, which will be BrainDrive little nuances, the installer little nuances for Windows, and then the rag install nuances. Because after that, well, I know what's going to happen. It's going to Dave says, "I want this running on my machine," and so and so we will get it running on his Windows. And then I can take whatever changes I made in the Windows installer over to Mac, and then we can start finalizing that one and get that installer working perfectly. Because no doubt it has the same issues the Windows ones does. So no sense in me trying to fix it twice. I'll just fix it once here, move the code over, and then it'll work over there as well.
Cool. So, I'm really hoping that, you know, we can kick off 2026 with the foundation of the system
Mhm.
solid,
Yep,
right? And it seems like we have all of the foundational pieces of the system built now.
yep,
There's nothing that we're like, we need to build this in
yep,
order. Rag was the last thing that we said. We need to build this. And once we have this, the foundation of the system, that's it, right? So that would include, you know, as simple as getting BrainDrive installed on your machine
yep,
and running it.
yep,
That is chatting, right? Which
yes,
is the AI chat interface, being able to chat with both local and API-based models within your brain drive,
yes,
right?
yes,
Which we have. Um, and then it is the persona system, right? So
yep,
being able to add custom system prompts,
yep,
right? The chat history, being able to that's the infancy of memory, right?
yes,
For your AI system. Um, we have the plugin manager for one-click plugin installs from any GitHub. You can
yep,
also download the file and upload it if you want complete privacy and off the internet. Uh, and we have the drag and drop page builder where
yep,
you can create these custom interfaces. You've used the same modular plugin architecture that everyone has access to build all this stuff. There's nothing that you have access to build all this stuff that other people don't have access to, right?
correct.
And being able to install the plugin and have your custom interfaces, under your pages, right?
Yep,
And then there's the installers themselves, the one-click installers, and the RAG system,
yep,
right?
Yes.
chatting with your own. So we have 2025 was the foundation,
It
right?
really was.
Yeah. And the foundational pieces are all there, but there's some improvements that need to be made on the foundation, right?
Very much so. Yes. Yeah,
And
we've discussed that many
and
times.
that's yeah, and that's not a one and done thing,
Yeah.
right? Really, the BrainDrive core development team from this point forward should be really about this foundation, number one, and building a community of developers around and on top of this foundation to make this really the WordPress of AI,
Yep.
right? It shouldn't be us building everything. We offer the foundation, free MIT licensed for other people to build their applications on top of, some of which they'll keep private for themselves, some of which they'll be for the community, etc. Right?
Yep. The only thing
So
we could really, in addition to that, is, as Navinath pointed out, is me mostly, is when I'm developing, is we need to start pushing in 2026 videos. How do you code a plugin? How do you do this? How do you do XYZ?
Well, I view that as building the community, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yep.
that's the
Yep.
two. We have the foundation, which is the system, and we build the community
Yep.
around it, right? And that's a foundation, right? It's what you're
Yep.
talking about. It's
Yep.
the educational video. It's not that we're the only people that do these videos. Hopefully, just like is developed in the WordPress community, there'll be big, huge sites that all they do is BrainDrive plugin development tutorials and how to use BrainDrive and all that type of stuff, So, but we want to have the foundation for that, which I guess number one is really documentation,
Yep.
right? Around all the stuff that we've built.
Yep.
Um, so so that's it. And in each of these pieces, we have things that we want to polish, right? But I don't think we should think about this in terms of roadmap planning, is we have these things we want to polish and then we're done, right? Because it's going to be an ever-growing list, right,
Yep.
of things that we want to polish. Okay, agreed?
Agreed, because we're two
And
people, but as soon as we get to get to four people, we're gonna get two times two the ideas that we didn't think about.
right, and
Eh,
we could spend the next we've spent 2025 saying um, we're going to hold this. It's public. We're building in public, but
yep.
we're not really promoting this because we want to have the foundation, our part of this in place before we start
Yeah.
promoting it, right? And I could very easily see us spending 2026 saying, well, we have the foundation, but we need to polish each of the pieces before we really, put this out there, et cetera, right? And I think we're close to the point anyway, where we need to get this out there,
Yep.
right? And so to me, what is like the minimum viable, like get this out there, right? And I would say, as sort of like a big picture, before we get into like what the individual to-do items are around that, get this out there is the things that we have built work,
Yep.
right? Now, that doesn't mean they work perfectly, or like, for example, if the installer won't install, it doesn't work,
Yep.
right? If an installer for the RAG system, for example, takes 30 minutes to install, but
Yep.
it installs,
Yep.
that to me, it works.
And
You know what I
no,
mean?
they're very different things. That's why I was like, I
Yeah.
have a separate list. It taking 20 minutes on my system. The only reason I didn't show it is because that's a long wait on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as it's installed, it worked. It chunked a markdown, and I asked it my question that what is BrainDrive, and it gave me the response I expected. That
Right.
went through flawless.
Right. And then we can have, hopefully the development community come in and some portion of the
Yep,
community be developers and they can say, "Oh my God, this local RAG system works. It works how I want it to, except it takes 30 minutes to
yep.
download." And hopefully one of those people will be brilliant and say, "Dave,
I
here
found your problem. You're loading this
yeah,
library wrong. You should have did
exactly.
this with XYZ." And I'll be like, thank
Right.
you.
Right. And we can also say back to people when they come to us and say, this is taking 20 minutes, it
Yep,
should take three. We can say, great, can you help us figure that out? Because
yep,
we'd love to figure that out. And we're one developer basically, or
yep.
1.25 developers, right? Um, so I think we need to be very careful of getting into polishing things that aren't, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? And so we can get this out there.
Yep. That's why it's like I have my list of for Windows to for this to be released on Windows. It just has the two issues that are on the installer, and those are minor issues, but they just need to happen. And the restart issue on the rack. The rest of it is research. Why did you take X amount of time to
Okay.
install?
So let's, in order, because as you
Yeah.
know, my brain thinks in a very
Yeah.
specific step-by-step order. So I guess the first thing that people need to do to get their brain drive
Yep.
up and running is they need to install it,
Yep.
right? And we do have install working on the command line across
Yep.
Linux, Windows, and Mac. We've had a bunch of people do it. It works, right?
Yes.
Um, but I think part of the foundation and our whole thing is this should be easy for people to do. And so we want the one-click installers for Windows and Mac,
Yes.
right? So that's the first bucket, right? It's not necessarily that we have to work on in this order, but just in terms of
Yep.
thinking through this. So I guess my first question here would be, do we need to just say we have an installer for Windows, it works, and that's our launch,
Yep.
thing, right? And if you want to do it on Linux and Mac, you can, but you have to use the command line for now? Or do we want Mac to be a part of the launch?
I would only say, okay, I'm not a Mac user, so it's hard for me to speak to that. However, I will go with the numbers that I see on Reddit, and I will go with the fact of just like the different conversations that take place. It's probably close to well, you have 10%, maybe 15% of the people using Linux some form, and the rest of it is 50-50 between Mac and between Windows.
Yeah.
I know the Windows one will be working probably by the end of the day. The Mac one has some unknowns in it. We tried to install it. It had a behavior we didn't like, number one, and it has to go through its testing that it needs to go through that we never have put it through.
Okay, so let me say installer,
Yep.
fix Windows,
Yep.
decide on Mac.
Yes. And I only say Mac's important because that
I
you're no.
definitely think Mac's important.
Yep.
But I'm t I worry about us being in this like we're almost there phase for
Yep.
6 months.
Yep.
You know
Oh
what I
no.
mean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Because there'll always be something. Like I said, that's why I came into this with and but.
Right.
There's always a but. But where is the but
So,
existing?
and to me, going live with a Windows installer
Yep.
that works, it's better than waiting 6 months to have the Mac
Yep.
installer, right? Okay. So decide. So that to me, in terms of, we don't necessarily have to do the work in this order, but in terms
Yep.
of thinking through this, that is the first bucket of work is fix the Windows installer and then decide on Mac. Okay. Now, the next thing uh, we want people to do once they've downloaded and installed BrainDrive is we want them to get to tell me
Yep.
a joke,
Yep.
right? So that means running a local AI model that's running locally on your computer, turning off your internet, saying, tell me a joke. That's that magical, wow, like this is
You own
crazy. Like
this.
this
You
AI
own
is
this.
like
Yeah.
on my machine and no one can mess with it, right?
Yep.
Except me. um, so what, if anything, is still left to do with this?
Auto download of your first model if you do not have one.
Okay, but to me, that doesn't work. Like this to
Yeah, well,
me
no, no, I'm just
works
saying, but
now.
and it works. Then it works. The only
Okay,
thing missing from it being seamless is the auto download, but there's
okay.
no
But
showstoppers.
there's no reason we need the we
Yep,
want the auto download. It's important for ease of use, but there's no reason we need auto
yep,
download for like to put this out there.
correct.
Okay? So AI chat, we'll call that.
Yep.
Tell me a joke chat is done. Okay. I think we haven't talked a lot about this, but I think probably the next thing that we want or people are going to want to do and we want people to do is well, the next thing we would ideally like people to do is install a plugin, right? Because that's sort of you're chatting locally on your
Yep.
machine, and now it's like, okay, you can do whatever you want with this system, right?
Agree. Yes.
Okay. So
The only
open
it,
route, go ahead, sorry.
okay, it depends on because you're the one doing the tutorial and you probably understand the non-tech more than me, but maybe a first approach isn't so much go out and grab something, but rather create a persona
Okay.
because
Three,
that you
number
could do.
three. I agree with that. Create a persona, right? Now you can
Yeah.
make this, not only do you own this AI system, but you can make it whatever you want,
Yep.
right? So
Because that's
that's
that first ability to tailor a model to your whatever you desire for a response.
creating a persona. Okay. Is there anything that's broken with creating a
Nope.
persona?
Nope.
It works.
Yep.
That's been my experience as well. So, we can check off AI chat, we can check off creating a persona.
Yep.
Okay. Just grab another sheet of paper here. All right. So after creating a persona, which is here,
Yep.
there it all is. And then once you have it, it's here and you can tailor it and use it in your drop down.
Yep.
Okay. Um, okay. Um, four, once people have created a persona,
Let's
uh,
install that first plugin.
install the first plugin. Okay. And which plugin do you think it should be?
Why not craft? Because it does everything. It's everything a plugin is supposed to do perfectly. It creates the page, it creates the personas. It really, especially if you're looking for a new developer, all the way to a user who is just wants something to play with to see how an AI works. That is pretty much
I
ideal.
definitely agree that if we could get in people's heads and say, what do we want you to do?
Yep,
Craft would be the one because of all the things you just said.
yep,
But we're not going to be in people's heads,
yep,
right? And I think when I'm here, I've installed BrainDrive. I've got I'd tell me a joke.
yep,
Wow, this is running on my computer. I see persona right there. Now create a persona. It's very natural. Like, what is that? It's like right there on the screen, right? Um, Now it's like the plugin manager. It would be awesome to have it be BrainDrive Craft, but I think it's also like a little bit of a jump, maybe too far.
yep.
But I think the next aha moment for me, anyway, as a local AI user, is I don't have to only use local AI models. I can also use
True.
API based models, right?
Yep,
So I think the Open Router plugin and having access to both, like you can have your cake and eat it too here. You're not
yep.
limited.
Another way to go around that one, maybe I know this might be different for tutorials, but I think it kind of speaks to BrainDrive is a fork in the road here because some people won't want to use Open Router or an
Right,
API, so
right.
they want to install a plugin. Some people, their thing is, I don't want to install a plugin yet because I want Open Router. I want access to 300 plus models and play that ground. So this could be that first moment of demonstrating BrainDrive is what you make it. You get
Yeah,
the choice. So you decide for this tutorial, which way do you want to go? You can go to tutorial XYZ and install Open Router and get your plugin working. Or if you just want to get a plugin working and you're not using API, here's BrainDrive Craft, and then let's install that plugin.
yep, yep,
And you can do both. There's nothing stopping you than say, hey, at the end of the both tutorials, is like if you didn't pick the other one, think about it for a minute and have the opportunity to go do it.
yeah. Again, I like that, but I worry about forks in the
Yep,
road and
yep.
like walking people down a path. But I think the point that you made, which is a good one, is not that they're not all good, but is a lot people come to this for local and privacy. So jumping to the API is not for most people probably what they're like. I'm concerned more about just owning the system,
Yep,
but I think most people are coming here because of privacy concerns. So I like sticking with local. And then I would say the next thing is the next like thing we know everybody wants is chat with my own documents
yep,
and do it locally and privately without needing an internet connection.
correct.
Okay. So I would say I think RAG is a very natural next, you
Yep.
know, plugin, right? Um,
And the first version would, of course, if you're doing tutorial wise, upload a document and just simply chat with it, the CAG system,
okay.
because
So
that's
let's
already
do that.
there.
Right. All right. So I'm instead of installing first plugin, I'm going with chat with documents,
Yep,
right, as the main thing.
yep,
Okay, and that is CAG first,
yep.
where you upload. I don't have it yet,
No,
but
but yours is in the toolbar still.
right here. So I can upload a document, it parses it. Okay, is there anything not working with this?
Nope, it does everything it should do.
And it's PDFs.
It does PDFs as well.
Okay. So that chat with a document, okay? And then I think, okay, now chat with documents,
Yep.
right? Okay, so this is RAG chat. I guess they're both chat with docs, but this one's RAG. Okay, so
Yep,
now we're talking about taking it to the next level. You have your own database. This also starts building out BrainDrive memory,
yep.
the basic foundations of that. RAG, okay? What is left in terms of working
Uh,
on well, and again, I think when you're thinking about Mac, right,
yep.
and where Mac sits in all this, right, it's also like, is working on Windows, enough, or does it need to work on Mac as well, right?
Okay. First of all, works on Ubuntu. We've already seen the video every day of the week.
Yeah.
Windows, 2 issues, 3 issues maybe, and it works there consistently, and as it should. Mac, it will probably get answered in the same way we answer the installer. So if in the installer we say we're going to wait for the installer to work, then we have the second question, which do we also wait to rag or not rag right off the bat?
Okay. And I think one of the things we need to consider here is you can install BrainDrive on a Mac now.
Yes. Oh,
Like
yeah,
this is a
exactly.
Mac that
Yep.
people are looking at right now. It's just you have to do it through the command line
Yep.
right now. Can you install RAG on a Mac through the command line?
ah, you'd have to be technical.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, there is a difference here though of you can install BrainDrive on a Mac. Right now, you can't do RAG at all on a Mac. Okay.
Correct.
So it's important to consider that. Okay. So chat with documents, 3 issues on Windows, Mac is an open question,
Yep.
works on Linux.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So now we have, all right, to me, um, you know, that's a lot, right? To give
Yeah.
people, right? The RAG is like to me is like the thing that's like, okay, like this is what everybody wants,
Yep.
right? Okay. Now we're taking it to the next level, right? And to me, this is more of like if it's here, it needs to either one work or we need to take it away. You know what I mean? Until it does work,
Yep.
right? It can't be like, well, this doesn't need to be part of our launch, but we've already built it and it's janky, it doesn't work. We'll leave it on here. No, if it doesn't work, if people are looking at it, it needs to work,
Yep.
right? Okay. So this is where I think plugins come into play, right?
Yep.
You agreed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, so, you know, and now, sticking with all the stuff you can do locally here,
Hmm.
Um, you know, so we have right now we have a BrainDrive Craft.
Yep.
We have Open Router.
Yes.
The RAG is going to be a plugin. So I guess people have already installed a plugin at this point because they're going to install the RAG plugin.
Correct.
Okay, so this is then Page Builder.
Yep.
All right, so when I install RAG, okay, so I think now is okay, I have my AI chat. Once RAG is working, it's going to be right here.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to chat with my documents in AI chat, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now the next thing is, all right, you're going to want to have different pages so that you can have different documents and different models. Like I want my finances on this page and have those documents here. I want my health stuff on this page and here, and I want to use a different model with my finance stuff versus my health stuff.
We're
I want to
not
use
quite
different.
that full yet.
What's that?
We're not quite that full yet of functionality.
What does that mean?
Because of the fact in order to start separating into pages at this point to the finite detail of finance will be in X, my recipes will be in Y, and my business will be in Z. In order
Okay.
to get to that far, we need to first to each page needs to start encompassing more information, such as the default RAG setup, like we talked about before, the default model setup that's going to be necessary to push that, and the ability to, how to word this, tag chats.
Okay. So great. So then we can still do, well, you tell me if I'm wrong here,
Yeah.
but can't we still do one page that has all the RAG
Yep.
stuff in it?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
One
All
page
right.
works perfect. The ability to
Okay.
separate them, not quite yet.
Right. But I can have my AI chat page that has nothing to do with RAG right here and has a persona with it and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then this could be RAG. And I
Yep.
could have a different persona for that and a set model. And this is where I'm not doing my health stuff separately from my finance stuff, but I can switch between them really easily because
Correct.
you're going to be able to choose different collections. And I can change the model manually. What you're really saying is if you want to save separate default settings for different pages, that's
Yep.
what we still have to build, which
Correct.
that's fine. Okay.
Yep.
So so I think also when we get into open router and API based models, what I think this AI chat page is really going to be is when I don't care about privacy, I go here and I can use all those models. And when I do care about privacy, where because I have all my RAG data and all my health data and
Mhm.
finances and blah blah blah, I use this other page,
Yep.
right? Okay, and this allows us to use the page builder, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we create a new page for your RAG, and now at this point, is there anything that doesn't work right now about the page builder?
Nope. This works.
Okay. So so now I've created multiple pages.
Yep.
Okay. And then the last thing from my perspective is okay, now you've got your local page with all your data and that type of stuff. If you want to use more powerful models, you don't care about privacy as much. Like now do the Open Router plugin, and that's the last piece.
Or you get better hardware. You always have that choice because
Yeah.
if you want to stay local and you're like, oh, this isn't what I want to do, well, there's nothing stopping you from going your friendly neighborhood store and going, hey, I want to run a 7 dB model at home. And
Right.
the salesman will
And
smile.
eventually being able to host it in the cloud too, but
Yep. Yeah.
self-hosted.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So then I'd say the last piece here, which is kind of like it fits everywhere,
Mhm.
is the like settings and like just what makes BrainDrive work
Yep.
from a foundational standpoint. Is there anything that's not working with that right now?
Nope. Works completely. As
Okay.
far as the foundation, like we are screen, it's like everything just works smooth. I hit it from this week was more of a, I'm not a technical user. I want to go from the installer to doing what I need to do, want to do, can do, and did I
Okay.
hit any bugs? None.
Okay. So then now we've okay, each of these things needs to work,
Yep.
right? And it would be great if they just all worked,
Hmm.
right? But then there's something doesn't work. It's a bug, but it's like it's a next level bug,
Yeah.
right? So to me, that would be the one you showed today, right?
Yeah.
The installer works. It's just when you change this one thing, it
It doesn't.
changes it back.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't
So
do what
to
it's
me,
supposed
if
to
we
do.
can fix those easily,
They are
and
easy. That.
remember our definition of easy up to this point, even
Yep.
though we love it and we're very
Yeah.
happy with the progress we've made, has been okay, it's easy, but it's still 2 weeks and it's not
Yeah.
done. You know what I mean? Because as we know, there's just so many moving pieces here, and you're only one person, and blah blah blah. So we need to be very careful about
Yep.
okay, we should have a list of everything that is there for it to work, right?
Yep.
And then there is, okay, this one it doesn't work, but it's going to be seen by like 1% of people and you can actually fix it in the back, blah blah
Yep.
blah. And it's like,
Yep.
okay, well, let's wait on that one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So all right, so just to go back through that, um installer, that means fix Windows and decide on a Mac launch.
Yes.
Tell me a joke chat with local models is done. Creating a persona to give your models a personality and tailor them to specific use cases is done. Chat with docs CAG is done.
Yep.
Chat with doc RAG, we have 3 issues on Windows and we have the same question for Mac. Like, I really feel like we have to do the Mac for RAG. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'm no disagreement. That's why I
Yeah,
brought that up when I did, because it was like if for working is actually installing and RAG, that's the full line of workflow.
yeah.
Then that means that on the other side of that for Mac, that is equal. We need to have the installer working and then RAG installed.
Right. And this to me, there was a lot of things said in this call, and it's great. There was a long list there of
Yep.
polishing and blah blah blah. But a lot of that stuff to me is like it's important, but like that goes on the long running list of
Oh
like
yeah. No,
it's
no,
going
no.
to be
Just because I
building
said this
and
is what I encountered doesn't mean I was like, we're
yeah,
stopping everything to get this working. This was the
right.
things I ran into.
This feels to me like a very manageable list
Yep.
where when I'm hearing the other stuff, I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be another 3 or 4 months before we can start pushing this out.
No.
Um, so all right. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think then this week is really just start get it, make sure we have for next Monday a good understanding of what the work is there, and if you have extra time, start tackling
Yep.
what you feel like is the most important stuff, right?
Yep.
All right, good. I feel better.
I felt amazing coming to this because I was like, look, I was like, because and for RAG to work on Windows and the Windows installer, it was like a very manageable list, and I was like, okay. And I also realized last week my plan was like, okay, I was going to get the Windows stuff wrapped up last week, and then of course with a short week of Christmas, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, this is New Year's week too. It's just as short.
Yeah,
I always forget about that one.
yeah,
But it was like it's like the two things in the installer, seriously, it's like one, it needs to use the right directory name, and it's not. And then the other one, it's copying just way too much information. It's like if you put like what happened to me, how I noticed it is I downloaded the installer and ran it from there, and it tried to copy everything in that directory. And I have a year's worth of downloading crap like GitHubs and things like that. So it was like trying to chug along with 3 gigs. And I was like, okay, I got to fix that. So they're just really two small things. The installer will be done today and I'll move along. And then at the same time, while I'm doing that and testing, I'm also working on the document processing and the document chat services to clean up those little 2 issues that are there as well.
yeah,
I'm a happy camper very easily this week.
yeah. No, I mean, it's great, it's exciting. I'm ready to launch.
Yep. No, yes.
I'm also not the one doing the work, so
I'm good because it's like this isn't even work. Like I said, with this week when I was able to use BrainDrive to accomplish a task, and me realizing how close we are.
yeah, it
eh,
feels like we're close, but it's felt like this to me, the difference between right now,
Yeah,
this conversation we just had, before it's like it felt like we were close, but I wasn't sure exactly the thing. In this conversation, I think you laid it out this is what needs to be done. It's not that much. You can
Yep.
see it on the list here.
Yep.
And now we can just
Do
focus
it.
on this, and get it done, and then we're ready to go.
And then I won't call it all polishing because, like I said, we have the Mac. We want to get that. That's going to take a week or two probably to hammer out between the Mac installer and the RAG installer as well. At the end of the day, I almost see no reason to wait. It is simply because of, hey, the Windows works. If
Yeah.
you we'll get half the people running and the other half the people, hey, you see what we can do. We're already tackling this. We're making progress. It's just going to take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is there really a reason to
The
wait two
thing from
weeks?
my side though is I know I'm gonna have to reshoot these videos, so
Yep.
that's totally fine. But like the difference between saying like go to the install page, and if
Mm,
you're Linux, you know what to do.
yep.
If you're not, you can if you're Linux, you know what to do. If you're comfortable with basically if you're comfortable with the command line on Linux, Windows, and Mac,
Yep.
you're ready to go. And if you're not comfortable with the command line, you're probably not using Linux. And we have an installer for Mac and an installer for Windows. That means that video lasts
Yeah.
6 months to a year
Yep.
versus,
2 weeks.
yeah, exactly.
True. I didn't think
Um,
about it from the video making for perspective of because yeah, that verbiage changes as we change.
right. And we know, we put it out there and 50% of the people are going to be like, when's the Mac coming?
Yep.
So again, I'm just playing, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like we may should just go ahead with Windows. But
But if we
I
wait
mean,
the
to be
2 weeks,
honest with you, in the local communities, like they know the command line anyway. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So,
for the local community especially, eh, we're already light years ahead of 90% of the stuff that hits. Where we're
right,
at because it does, you can install it from the command line from all three. We have done it numerous times. We've had other developers do it numerous times. And we have had Davineath and a few other developers back in the past. If you wanted to create a plugin right now, there's nothing stopping you.
right.
And that includes all the way up to RAG, and that includes like Navaneeth. He has his own concept of Y-Finder, which is basically I'm going to throw you down guardrails, and you're going to play whatever game he's playing. So if you have a game in your head, and by say game, not really game, but if you have a target focus to take a user, you can write a plugin now. You could do it, and Navaneeth displays that with his. It's
Yep,
like it comes down to system prompts, and taking the responses from the user and doing whatever you plan to do with them and then display it to the user. So it's like
right,
we're already there. We
right.
just packaging and leveraging, of course, the do you want to shoot another video in 2 weeks?
Well, and then the other thing is, no, do we just go into the local AI
Yep.
communities and start building with the Windows? I think that's probably the right move,
Yeah.
is just go ahead with the Windows, because they don't need the videos as much anyway.
And if we learned anything from our time with Open Web UI, most people did not even look at a video.
Yeah. Yep. All right, great. I feel good about this. Anything else we want to talk about today?
Nope. Other than hopefully next week while we're having the conversation, I want to have the Windows one working in the background so that people can just see how it works and how it's going together versus, it's not going to be the focus, but just for people to watch. And that way, if it takes 20 minutes, it takes 20 minutes. But at the end of the video, we'll be able to do hey, what is BrainDrive? And ask questions to, and people can see the RAG system working from a non-tech standpoint of, I didn't touch the terminal. I didn't do anything fancy. It ran seamlessly.
Yeah, and maybe we can just have like a big picture topic that we're talking
Yep.
through while it's downloading. So we're not just sitting there
Watching
and
the screen.
yeah, and then just make sure we pay attention to when each step is
Yep.
completed so we can pause and move to the next step. Awesome. Good stuff. With that, a reminder, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system to big tech's AI systems. And we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live streamed on YouTube and posted the recordings on our forums over at community.braindrive.ai. So we'd love it if you join us for the live stream. They're open to participation from all, as well as our community over at community.braindrive.ai, which is free. And with that, we'll see you next week.